Ukrainian troops have destroyed Russia's light aircraft that were intercepting Ukrainian long-range drones, Ukraine's security service, known as SBU, revealed on Tuesday. The operation was carried near Melitopol city in southeastern Zaporizhzhia region by the special forces from the Special Operations Center, under the security service. The SBU shared the video footage of the operation, stressing that its specialists have once again successfully destroyed hostile targets in temporarily occupied territories. This time, our specialists neutralized 2 light aircraft that the occupiers had stationed at airfields and were using to shoot down Ukrainian long-range drones, the SBU stated. The security service explained that such efforts clear the path for Ukraine's long-range drones and ensure uninterrupted strikes in the Russian rear. The SBU pledged to further continue strikes on Russian targets. Ukrainian troops have recently scaled up attacks on Russia's military targets to weaken Moscow's war efforts. Being partially occupied, Zaporizhzhia has seen increased Russian attacks in the past weeks. Ukrainian military officials report a noticeable increase in drone attacks, guided aerial bombs, and artillery shelling, particularly around villages like Novoivanivka and Poltavka. The strikes are aimed at both military positions and civilian infrastructure, with Ukrainian troops successfully repelling Russian assaults. The intensity of attacks indicate a clear Russian effort to wear down Ukrainian defenses through attrition and pressure. Ukrainian defense forces apparently struck a high-value target in the Zaporizhzhia sector. Among those killed was Lieutenant Vasily Marzoyev, son of Lieutenant General Arkady Marzoyev, commander of the 18th Combined Arms Army of the Russian Southern Military District. The information was confirmed by the head of North Ossetia Sergei Menyelo. According to a Russian official, the son of a Russian general lost his life while performing combat missions. He served as a reconnaissance platoon commander in the 108th Regiment of the Russian Occupation Army. Menyelo clarified that, along with Marzoyev Jr., his uncle was also part of Cargo 200. His position was not disclosed. However, it is known that he fought in the war in the Caucasus. Details are still unknown. The Ukrainian Defense Forces are not commenting on the situation. Russian President Vladimir Putin posthumously awarded him the title of Hero of Russia. According to Russian sources, Marzoyev was killed on October 15, allegedly during hostilities in the area of Plavnyi near Vasilyevka. The heroic obituary was concocted by his cousin, Reserve Officer Oleg Marzoyev, who described the courage of the deceased, not noticing the main thing: they all came to a foreign land with weapons. In the text, in particular, it is said that it took as many as 2 bomb strikes to eliminate the occupier. The positions of Lieutenant Marzoyev's guard unit were hit by an enemy-guided air bomb. Vasily, who himself received injuries and contusions, still managed to save 2 subordinates from the ruins of the building, dragged them to a safe distance from the place of fire damage, which saved their lives, after which he returned for the 3rd wounded subordinate, whose search was difficult. At this time, the enemy made a repeated aerial guided bomb attack, which cut short the life of the brave commander. He was buried by the debris of the building. During the day, while sorting through the debris, the paratroopers hoped that they would be able to save the officer, but it was no longer in their power. The assassination of the current commander's son demonstrates that Ukraine's defense remains precise and effective. The Ukrainian armed forces continue to destroy not only the enemy's equipment and personnel, but also its command personnel, undermining the Russian army's combat effectiveness from within. As reported, Marzoyev was the son of Lieutenant General Arkady Marzoyev, commander of Russia's 18th Combined Arms Army, who faces charges of committing war crimes against Ukraine for ordering attacks on residential areas, schools, hospitals, and critical infrastructure. He is among 5 senior Russian officers charged in absentia by Ukraine's security service for ordering the bombardment of civilian targets in the city and region of Kherson between January and October 2023. According to investigators, at least 113 civilians, including 3 children, were killed and more than 280 wounded in the attacks he masterminded.
In Moscow, men appealing their military conscription are being detained en masse, the Civil Alliance of Russia reports. According to the organization's leader, lawyer Oleg Filatchev, facial recognition is being used for this purpose. He said their 19-year-old client, who is contesting his military conscription, was detained in the metro on October the 18th and taken to a collection point on Ugreshkaya Street along with about 20 other men who had been detained in a similar manner. According to Filatchev, when a conscript appeals a decision, the military enlistment office transfers their data to the system as if they were a draft dodger, so police detain them if they are caught on a facial recognition camera. Moreover, according to the lawyer, representatives of those taken to Ugreshkaya are not allowed to see them, despite a notarized power of attorney. The lawyer recommended that those challenging the draft avoid using the metro and, if detained and sent to the assembly point, refuse to undergo a medical examination without a properly served summons, citing illegal delivery. A complaint should also be filed with the military prosecutor's office. The autumn conscription began on October the 1st and ends on December the 31st. A total of 135,000 Russians aged 18 to 30 are scheduled to serve in the army. This is the largest autumn campaign since 2016, when President Vladimir Putin ordered the conscription of 152,000 citizens, including the record 160,000 recruits drafted in the spring. A total of 295,000 new recruits are scheduled to serve this year. Since the fall, conscripts in Moscow, Mariel, and the Ryazan and Sakhalin regions have been receiving only electronic summonses, which are considered delivered once they appear in the relevant register. From that date on, the recipient is prohibited from leaving Russia. But some conscripts declare that they do not want to be victims of Putin's war. In the event of draft evasion, citizens are prohibited from registering as individual entrepreneurs or self-employed, driving a car, obtaining a passport, taking out loans, and conducting real estate transactions. Furthermore, they may be subject to an administrative fine of 10,000 to 30,000 rubles. But most Russian soldiers fighting in Ukraine chose to do so, and did so not for values, but for cold, hard cash. Many think that the Russians are forced to fight. In fact, the Kremlin is afraid of mobilizing its people. Katerina Stepanenko, Russia Research Fellow at the Institute for the Study of War, told the Kyiv Independent. Instead, Russian President Vladimir Putin relies on paying vast sums of money in order to entice people to sign up voluntarily, which they continue to do so in droves. Up to 40,000 a month, according to NATO estimates from August. The moral equivalence of these two armies is impossible. Pavel Luzin, an independent Russian military analyst, told the Kiev Independent, Russia's side is completely immoral, and the vast majority of its soldiers went to war voluntarily, driven by financial and psychological interests, not by coercion. One side is an occupying force, trying to subjugate another country and its people. The other is fighting for its freedom. These are fundamentally different causes.